As a CEO, you're wasting thousands of dollars on meaningless leadership training programs. Your managers don't like it, your employees don't like it, and you're not seeing the results. The most frustrating thing about it is that it doesn't create change, and oftentimes your leaders just go back to the old way of doing things. And research supports this. It shows that even the most well-trained and motivated employees often can't apply new knowledge and skills when they return to their teams because they're so entrenched in the old way of doing things. Your leaders who have been trained have less power to change the system around them than most programs ever realize. To ultimately fix these problems, got to fix your training and leadership development. My name is Ben Fanning, and I help you motivate your direct reports, cultivate your top talent, and accelerate your career. Now I'm going to share with you the 5 big training problems that I see time and time again so you can avoid them. And I'm going to share with you how you can fix them. First mistake is not establishing a leadership vision. Now, I'm not talking about a leadership vision for your company, although we work with organizations on that as well. But every great leadership program helps the leaders craft their own leadership vision. Otherwise, they're just managing, they're never leading in the first place. And it's amazing to me how many leadership programs just start by jumping in to providing tips and strategies and framework, but the leaders haven't established a vision for themselves and their team, so there's nothing that they're ultimately leading them to. If you don't have this, it's a big mess, but it can be fixed by just making sure that you have a mechanism in place to help them craft their own leadership visions before they start digging into the actions for the rest of the training program. The number 2 mistake is that programs aren't training leaders how to deal with the naysayers when it comes to their leadership vision. Look, even if the people in your training program have dozens of direct reports, it doesn't mean that they're following. Eventually, all following becomes voluntary. So if you haven't equipped your leaders with the training to help sell their vision and enroll them and get their commitment to follow it in the first place, you're in for a program that's not going to create change and ultimately not going to give you the ROI that you're looking for. The third big mistake is a training curriculum that's based in top-down communication. This can be effective if your training is just targeting your top leadership, but you're probably thinking a little bit more broadly than that, and you're thinking about your mid-level leaders and rising leaders too. Too many times, programs are geared to help these employees focus on the problems that the top leaders have had, but not effectively helping them identify problems that they see in the organization and create change and opportunity around those. Otherwise, you're leaving change top leaders in the organization, which is ultimately a recipe for failure. Success comes from empowering and entrusting your leaders to identify the problems that are plaguing the office, that are preventing growth for the company, and equipping them with strategies to go do something about it. Mistake number 4 is not focusing on cross-functional communication and collaboration. Now, organizations have functions, of course. You have HR, you have finance, you have operations, marketing, production, systems. They're just infinite functions across the organization. Many times, leaders are effective at making change and driving projects within their own function because they speak their own language inside the function. Many leadership programs allow that fester and limit the team's effectiveness. But true broad organizational change happens when the functions work and speak and collaborate effectively together. So it's essential that your leadership programs train your leaders to speak the common language, the language of profitability and the bottom line, and help them work together. And this creates a powerful cultural change and alignment that can give you a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Mistake number 5 is not training leaders how to build trust inside your organization. Look, the change that you want to make inside your organization most likely is built upon the principle that employees are going to raise their hand and communicate effectively on problems that they see inside the organization. But what ends up happening is if employees don't feel comfortable, if they feel like they might get fired, they might get chastised, or they might feel just completely like throwing their hands up and saying, well, if I bring this up again, no one's going to do anything about it. So why even bother? This is absolutely destructive inside organizations because you can't transform something unless employees and their leaders are willing to have a conversation about it. So in our leadership programs, for example, and I'd recommend this for you, always make sure you have a key element of trust building. And you train leaders how to build that deeper connection between other leaders and other functions and with their teams, and notice the new conversations that take place and how they can collaborate more effectively. And this can become the very foundation for a successful transformation for each and every leadership program that you have. Now, if this has been enough for you, go off and take your next step. Maybe share these ideas with your broader HR, organizational development team, or just the broader employee group inside your organization in general, so they can begin to understand the kind of training that you'd like to create for the company and what to look for. But if you'd like to accelerate your results immediately and you'd like a tailored curriculum for you, you can just click on the link in the comments below this video and set up a 15-minute conversation with me. We'll quickly go through some of the greatest challenges that your company's facing and make sure that you have a tailored leadership curriculum to help you make long-term, impactful change that will generate a higher return on investment and ultimately drive bottom line results.